Hi everyone, welcome. Out here on the bench I've got a couple of my African nightcrawler worm bins that I'm preparing to feed. I wanted to just prepare a little top covering for these systems. So if you look under the plastic, you can see there was newspaper there, but it's pretty much gone. It's been nibbled away to shreds. So what remains is just a little bit of a remnant, but certainly not capable of fulfilling the responsibility of top covering paper. So now we've got a couple replacements. We'll place them out when we're done feeding, and what was out there will just get blended in as supplementary bedding. So the system has been in service. Both systems are now 41 days of age, and that last check-in was when we must have put this corn in here, because the corn is still in large part intact. I could definitely see some worms that have come to occupy the thing. Yeah, and from below too. I would assume we'll see the same thing here if we unearth our corn bits. Very popular items. Besides the corn cobs, I'm sure there were other things thrown in there. One of the things I definitely remember were these little spheres of corn cob. What they're getting today is here. I see potato peel, I see celery bits, some cucumber peel, and possibly a few other different things. I wonder if that could have been what I had hoped not to break. I found this. Yeah, it was. It's like I had an ear of corn that had like a little ear growing next to it. So this was like the very beginnings of an ear of corn. And I managed to bust off the tip of it. So it seems like these systems with those corn cob spheres and the corn on the cob actually given to them last time. Very popular, as you can see. Figured let's continue and give these little guys that little itsy bitsy ear of corn too. So I thought there'd be maybe a third piece, the way we see three here, although this third piece is just a tiny fragment. So I just kind of imagine that there could have possibly been a little bit of consistency applied when giving them these corn cob bits, but maybe there was only 5. I don't know for sure. Or maybe there's still one floating around in here that we've not yet located. I don't know. Oh, here's some more of this celery I dropped earlier. So some of the bedding that we used last time was egg carton, and I would imagine that that stuff's probably going to be intact in large part. It is. And I guess it didn't help much that they were sort of resting one on top of the other. The two surfaces touching each other were kind of protecting themselves from worm onslaught. But we don't want to let material protect itself from worm onslaught, right? We want to see the worms get access to as much stuff as they can and nibble it all down for us. Wow, these things were really popular, these little cups. Look at these little piles of worms that I was able to dump out of those things. I would have to guess we're probably going to see more of the same over in bin number 1. I don't know why we sort of ended up starting in bin number 2. So let's just finish checking out how things went down here in the feeding zone. I could see even more cardboard. I mean, what I wanted to use today as bedding, I've got some soiled napkins, and I guess with that old cardboard we're in pretty good shape. Now I'm starting to bump into some of these spherically shaped bits of corn cob, and my guess is that we're going to be continuing to see corn cob fragments in these systems for a long, long time. And you know, I've already found 4 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm pretty sure we had maybe 6 or 7 in each system. So it's not so important that we track every single one down. Here's a 5th one I just found. It's not so terribly important to find every last bit of whatever it is that you're out looking for, but it is kind of nice. And I think we just found 7 corn cob spheres. That might be the extent of what we gave them. Well, no, maybe not. There's an eighth one. Like I said, it's not all that important that we always track down every last bit of slow composting food that we know is going to be there week after week after week. Yeah, just once in a while it's interesting to see what's going on with this stuff. So let's excavate the egg carton over here in bin number 1 and see how it did. I would have to assume that we would probably find similar results. Here's another little piece of corn cob. I guess there was 3 over here. So my guess is that if we were to try to evacuate these little cells of the egg carton, we'd probably find mobs of worms hanging out in each one again, just like we did in the other system. And many of them just didn't want to be evicted, it seems. Alright, it's cool. I'm glad to see the worms are making themselves at home in this bedding we gave them last time. And my organization of things is a little bit all over the place here. I'm just sort of putting things down wherever they end up. But I figured as long as we kind of went to the effort of trying to locate and line up all the corn cob spheres over in bin number 2, let's see if we can not spend too much time on it in bin number 1, but also see if we can track down and check out all the corn cob spheres. I mean, after only 12 days, it's fair to expect that you're not going to see much, if any, progress on them, but I figured, what the heck, let's check them out. So let's proceed. Let's start giving them their meal, and I'm going to lay down a nice foundational sheet of paper underneath the feeding in each system. These are nice, big, thick, luxurious napkins. Even when I open it up this far, I've still got, I think, one more layer that I could even open it up, but it's a good sized napkin. So let's start returning some of this interesting corny food back down into the feeding zone. Oh wow, yeah, just feels like these kernels want to just pop right off after the worms have kind of nibbled them away at their base. And what did we do with the corn cob bits over here? We hid them away from ourselves. All right, I think we've got them all, as well as these corn cob bits. Very nice, very nice. So all this additional bedding type material, geez, we've got so much of it. I guess it wouldn't hurt to try to lay some of it down, possibly as a little bit of a protective insulating layer, so that when the frozen stuff comes in next, it doesn't have to come in contact with any of the little wormies that might be occupying those corn cobs. So let's see how this food pans out. Good bit of stuff over here. And just checking to see if we have an equal distribution. Perhaps we can even throw a little bit more over on this side. And, well, I don't think we're going to see much of that little corn cob wherever it ended up. I don't even know. It's this, I believe, right here. It's a lot softer than typical pieces of corn or corn cob, so I think it'll probably go quick. And a couple little bits and pieces of stuff that snuck out. So let's see, what else can we do here? We've got so much more bedding type material to return down into the feeding area, except our feeding area is almost full. So let's just get this stuff in there. I mean, I also wanted to get some of this old haggard bedding down in there too, but let's see, is it all gonna fit? I guess it probably will, you know. And it'll probably be better that we've got a little piece of egg carton like this poking out of the feeding area rather than a piece of corn. But we'll do our best to cover this stuff up. And hopefully the worms will find this egg carton. Oh yeah, and this egg carton. A fun place to hang out and crawl around in and possibly even nibble on a little bit. So now, I thought that yeah, I did. I gave them a little bit of my pulverized eggshell as grit. But let's not forget, we also wanted to include one last piece of paper down in here. Now I'm starting to feel like I'm wondering if I'm kind of pushing it. I think I will go out to the outer edges of both systems to bring in material with which we can make sure we've covered up the feeding zones entirely. And it does feel to me like just the general amount of moisture in the material throughout the systems is pretty high, so I think that adding dry bedding materials like this should work a-okay. Hopefully we'll have enough moisture coming out of those frozen bits of vegetable that'll dampen up any of the dry bedding we just used. And well, it feels to me like we're kind of going down the same road as last time we were in here, which is to have a big mound in the middle where we last fed. And I mean, not too surprising, right? If you're working on a couple of your brand newest systems, 41 days of age, only getting feeding number, there were 3 feedings so far, so this might be feeding number 4, I believe. So there's not a whole lot of material to turn to if you're looking for stuff to cover up your feeding zone with. But I think we've managed somehow. Once again, over here in bin number 1, applying this sort of peak approach, sort of a mound built up over where the feeding area is. And you know, if like last time, or like, well, this time when we came back in and we found those bits of corn cobs sticking out, is that a problem? Nah, I don't think so. It should be just fine. And nice replacement top coverings. This too ends up just being stuff that the worms like nibbling on and chewing away at, especially when the moisture starts to recirculate underneath the plastic covers. You start getting this nice moisture zone, and pretty much guarantees that the newspaper on top is going to get chewed on to some degree at least. So that's it for our check-in now with the 41-day-old African nightcrawler systems. Doing real nice in here. Hopefully they enjoy this nice collection of bedding we've been giving them. I thought that those cartons might have made greater progress by now, but maybe next time we'll start to see some deterioration of it. It was definitely damp, definitely falling apart, but definitely also still seemed to be intact. So, all right, everyone, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.